Live. Thank you, Jon and Michelle, for joining me today. I know we met during the R to R conference back in November, so it's been a couple of months now. But before we begin the interview, I wanted to learn more about your background, and then I guess you can delve into more of the syndication
Yeah,
experience.
Okay.
sure. So my background is engineering, very technical. I've been there for quite some time, and then I wanted to diversify my knowledge. So I went back to school, got my MBA, focused on two things. One is finance, and through that, I served as a analyst and portfolio manager for an investment fund. So I was investing in behalf of investors. And then the other one was entrepreneurship. So through that as well, I met really inspiring entrepreneurs that pushed me to take our own entrepreneurship journey as well. And we still have our W-2 jobs. I am working as a sales and operations consultant for an energy company. Yeah, so that's me.
And then for me, I've been working for a cancer hospital here in Houston, and I've been there for more than 15 years now. I have a master's of family nurse practitioner. And I am also heavily involved with many committees for the nurse practitioners at my institution. And then we have, since I've joined, we have able to achieve like several milestones, especially for the education
Yeah.
committee for over 600 nurses in my institution. So that's what I've been involved with.
Yeah. And on top of that, we also have an e-commerce brand. So we have a small business. We have an e-commerce brand. We design, market, and sell pet products. And a portion of that actually goes to animal rescue groups here in Houston, just to help out because they're always underfunded. So some of the profits go there. We're also launching a home brand soon, and the portion of that is going to be directed to Houston food banks. Right, so that's the way to give back to the community. Those two businesses are passive to semi-passive in that we have a team that actually we hire to manage that. Um, our focus in the long run, we want to put our time and effort into real estate. So last November, we joined the Brad Sumrok ecosystem as a private mentoring students, and we've since invested into limited partner deals and totaling 500 units, and we're looking for the next one.
Yes, and our goal for this year is hopefully to become general partners.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. I must say, you guys are very entrepreneurial. Like,
Yeah.
you guys have your full-time job, you guys are
Yeah.
killing it, and then you have your side hustle, and then you also have real estate.
Yeah.
So I guess there is no excuses for time because, I mean, that's like the most common excuse people have. Like, I don't have time, but you guys are clearly doing,
Yeah.
5x what everyone else is doing.
We're trying.
We try.
Yes.
We enjoy
Um,
it. We really enjoy it.
I can tell. So I just wanted to delve more into like the multifamily syndication question. So can you tell me about how you got started? How did you hear about syndications?
So we're very, very blessed and lucky to have Leah and Carmina, who is also a very close relative of
Mhm.
ours. Through them, they introduced us on multifamily investments. So what happened is initially we, like I think for most people, you start with single family homes
Mhm.
first, and then after that you rent it out and then build your single family home. So we were supposed to purchase our neighbor's home because we were like, oh, it's a good deal. I was really pushing him. It's like, we
Yeah.
should start, you being single family owner, like additional income. But we met Leah and Carmina, and then they introduced us on multifamily. And then they said, we're going to try and, because they have many experiences. They have multiple single family homes
Mhm.
all over the nation. So they said, we're going to try and save you some headache and heartache with goes with single family homes and just hear us out about
Yeah.
multifamily
Yeah.
investing. And that's when we heard about it and was like, oh, hey, this is actually possible. Like,
Yeah.
this is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And then that's when we came in and joined the Brad Sumrok group in November.
Yeah. And so we always thought that owning an apartment would be such an amazing source of cash flow. And every time we walk our dogs, every day we walk our dogs, we pass by several apartments, and we were like, it would be cool to own one of those.
Yeah.
And we thought that it would take, $500,000 to $1 million to start. We had no clue about this last year until we met Carmina and Leia. So we've been blessed that, we probably saved a lot of headache and time and effort in owning single family homes, because we had to own about 20 single family homes to replace one of our income jobs, which is going to
Mhm.
be a long, long journey. So we're lucky to be in the space.
Yeah. So we are really just very blessed to know that, hey, this opportunity
It's here.
actually exists.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you have passively invested in the deal. Can you talk about
Yes.
that? What made you want to invest? And how are you seeing the returns?
Yeah, so we invested. So it closed in January, and then this is in the south of Houston. And we're very, very careful with what we invest in and who we invest with. So we had to drive by a lot of properties, and we went by that property, and we just felt like, you know what, I like this. I mean, I wouldn't, if I was running the property, I wouldn't mind asking my investors to invest in this one. So that's how I internalize it.
Mm.
It has so far performed very well. In that occupancy has hit 100%, which is really good for current investors. So yeah. So we're blessed to be part of that.
And this is a Houston deal?
Yes.
This is south of Houston. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Huyan. Is that was that
Yeah.
one of?
Uh-huh.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! I wanted to invest in that deal, and it was oversubscribed. And
I think it got oversubscribed right
Right
away.
away.
Mhm.
Right away.
I was very impressed by the webinar. I've listened to several deals webinars, and I would say they were so prepared. They had
Yes.
what was it? Some battery stations for electric cars,
Yeah.
which
Yes.
I've never seen with other syndication deals.
Yep.
So it was so well presented, and I was like, oh, I want to invest, but
It's
didn't
out
happen.
of the box thinking,
Yes.
which is great. Yeah, that EV charging, and
Mhm.
yeah. So it's been it's a first one. We're very, very, very happy that we got in. So
Yeah. And then, what also kind of was very great about that property is with their underwriting. And
the
then
underwriting. Yeah.
and then I guess you can tell more
Yeah,
about the stress test.
it was very solid. We underwrite a lot of deals, and then we put all our underwriting properties through the same stress test. So that was the benchmark, and it was just difficult to get to that solid underwriting. It's just such a good property, and it's very little risk, or little risk, I should say. Anything could happen, right? But we look at the risk, we look at the rewards, and this has huge potential. So yeah.
It's great for you guys. Lost on my books.
No, there will be more. Don't worry.
Yes.
I guess since November you joined Brad's group, I guess can you talk about that experience so far? Have you done some of the trainings? Have you gone to more of the networking events?
Yeah. So we're going through the modules. In some portions we have to go back, and because there's a lot to take in the first time, so we have to go back regularly and reference those modules. And we've attended the R2R last November. We plan to attend the R2R again, and then the AIM NatCon. And we've been networking with other Sumrockers.
And then the bus tours
The bus
too. So we
tours, yeah.
attended our first bus tour. I think it was this year. I think it was in February. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was a good learning experience too. When we get to meet other people inside the bus, and then your seatmate, you get to talk to them
Yeah.
and network more. So that was a wonderful opportunity to learn more about people and their experiences.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, I think what really was very inspiring to me is people are just so generous with their
Yeah.
knowledge. I don't know if you feel the same way. Coming to R2R, you just network and talk to people. And then, of course, we were very hesitant in the beginning, and this was a lot of money to put in for personal mentoring, and we're really not sure. But talking to each individual, they share all of their experiences,
Mhm.
their challenges, and they were very realistic about it. If I met several people also like in meetups that said, you know, LP, you know, you don't do as much, but if you become a general partner, you know, there is a lot more work into it. It's not, you know, you have to be ready that there's more work. So I think that prepared us too.
Yeah.
Coming and then joining the personal mentoring. So we know the modules, we've gone through it, and then also the meetups, and then meeting with Coach Nick. So he has helped us with several of our underwritings and give us some advice like, okay, maybe you should do this and, you know, change this. So I think those are all very helpful.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's been a positive experience so far.
It has been.
It has been, yes.
Been, definitely.
And you guys, it sounds like you guys are looking for co-sponsors, right? Is that where your next challenge is, kind of, you know, seeking out who will be the best partner to form the team?
Yeah, and that's the goal. So we are working and building our foundation, building our investor database so that we're ready when that first deal comes up. So we put a date of December 1st, 2022, so you can interview us on December 2nd. So that
Oh, you guys accountable?
Hold us accountable to that. But that is the goal, you know. First, we're looking into Houston markets, and we broaden our search to secondary and tertiary markets as well here in Texas. So, yeah.
It's great that you guys are in Texas because Sumrok is based there. I feel like, and most of the deals, all the good deals, I feel are like in Dallas, in Fort Worth area. So prime location. I think in New York, it'll be better for equity raising, but not necessarily finding, you know, the most cash flow properties.
Yeah. It's pretty. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, and if you have any questions at all, we know Houston area. We know also the south of Houston area, and in the north. He stayed up in the north area as well, like close to Kingwood, when a lot of the properties that we see in Deal Box too. So we know the area as well.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground, local knowledge.
Yes, let us know. Questions, you know, we'll be happy to help you out. And we can drive a property too.
And we love doing that.
I think that would be my favorite part. I know back in New York, when we look at homes with my parents, my favorite part is just like going into the home, I guess a single family, 2-3 family, and kind of looking around, seeing, you know, the structural frame of the house, what needs work. Comparing looking at rates that you can charge for the rent. So it must be fun for you guys to look at, you know, some of the complex.
Yeah, we have fun with it.
I guess going to my next question, after networking with some of the your peers in the mentor group, I guess what would be your biggest, like when that deal comes, what do you anticipate as the biggest challenge? Is it equity raising? Is it closing the deal? Is it, I guess, finding the deal? What do you anticipate will be the biggest challenge?
Yeah. So for that, since we're starting, there are a few factors, right? So since we're starting, it's going to take time and effort to build our investor database. And the approach or the strategy that we're taking is we approach potential co-GPs with either net worth or an investor network, right? So the last thing, we were talking to recently to an experienced GP, and he said the last thing that you want to worry about is equity, right? So we want to build that even before we find the deal. So when we find it, it's just going to be quick. There's also that element of people know us as, you know, a healthcare professional and an energy professional, and we have to transform that. And now we're moving, if you're familiar with the cash flow quadrant, we're moving from the employee or self-employed to the other side, which is the business owner and investors, right? So we have to make that transition to the right side of the quadrant. And then also finding deals. I mean, like I said earlier, Houston is a very hot market right now. A lot of things are moving here in Houston. So we have to be agile and pivot and start, you know, be open to secondary and tertiary markets and see where the upside is. Look for the upside.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to continue to build that relationship with the brokers. So we're meeting our broker, you know, one of the brokers that that we're touching base with this week.
Yeah, this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think continue to build on that.
Yeah.
Any pointers on how to build that relationship with brokers?
I think one really good tip that we got is don't be too nitpicky with brokers. Like make their lives easier, right? Because I mean, if you're asking to make a small change here, a small change there, then it's gonna they're gonna spend some time and effort in accomplishing that for you. So it's a long-term relationship. If it's not gonna matter in like a year or 5 years from now, just let it go, and then also be very responsive.
I think that's one thing that I think that one of the GPs had shared with us is a lot of brokers mentioned to him like, hey, it's best that if a person is responsive. Because can you imagine going in when you finally have the deal and this person is not responsive to your email, and it's not easy to communicate with that person. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons that we've learned too.
Yeah.
So do you have like a set criteria? I guess not too rigid, but just some of the main criterias.
Yeah.
And then you send it over to your broker, and then they will find deals based on that, right?
Yeah. So we have the number of units, markets. There are bonuses as well. So a bonus is definitely you don't want to be in a market where it's dependent on one industry, right? So if it's dependent on energy, what happens if oil price crash, right? So it's very dependent on that. You want to have a diverse job pool there. So that's number one. It's also bonus. Another tip that we got is to be school.
It's close to schools
and hospitals.
And hospitals.
Yeah. So that's a bonus. But the main is you got to have job growth, population growth, and rent growth. So those are the three main things that we're looking at.
I always see on the investor slides, they always have a map, and then it always shows like where the school district is. It's next to the main highway. This is like a major U.S. or major company employer in that area.
Yep. Like this is close to the highway, and this is the school.
Exactly.
10 minutes away from this university.
Yeah. I guess while you're on your journey now, when is just some of the perceptions you've had prior to joining, and then now that you're actually on the journey, you're underwriting deals, you're meeting brokers, you're networking, what is your biggest misconception of, I guess, syndication or multifamily space?
So I think we've been blessed to meet people that have shared their good stories and also their horror stories. So they've shared their experiences, that unpleasant experiences. And because of that, we set realistic expectations. This is going to take a lot of work. But if we're both passionate about it, and this is what we really want to do, and this is a way or a vehicle to help and uplift other people, then we're going to do it. So I think that was our biggest takeaway when reflecting upon those things. So.
I think coming in, we knew that this was not an easy task. Like it was going to take a lot of time and effort from the both of us. So I think we were really realistic. This is not some easy feat that we can accomplish really soon. Yeah.
I think anything that's worth doing will take time and effort, right? And we're willing to do that. So, and little by little every day. So.
Right. I guess, how do you manage or balance everything? For me, I try to network every day, or reach out to people, read about syndication, but time, you only have some X amount of time in a day, right? So what are some of the things you guys do to maximize your time to ensure that you are going to accomplish your goals?
That's a good question. We have our goals written down. We have our goals written down, and I look at it every day, and I think about it before I sleep at night. So in that way, it solidifies in me.
Yeah, and I think we also reevaluated. We just stopped yesterday. We're like, oh, by the amount of what we're doing with networking, we need to do more because we're not doing enough, So it's like, so we need to reach out to more people in order to just introduce them about this opportunity.
Yeah.
Just start the education right away. So I think that's one thing that we're brainstorming of, like, okay, what should we do next? Like, how can we put this out there?
Yeah.
Like, should it be a social media?
Yeah.
Should we start a newsletter, or putting out a blog, or putting out a different website with education modules? So those are things that we're working and discussing, and which approach we're gonna take on next.
Yeah, and some SMART goals is basically we need to attend 2 networking events. We need to meet 3 new people per week, and then this is going to be tricky but do 3 underwriting properties every week. So that's kind of like the cadence that we're trying to do, and we're blocking time just to do that.
I would say I've written maybe 1 deal, and like under Ed's discretion, I would like he underwrites, and then I would practice and then kind of compare my spreadsheet to his. But I would say like underwriting is just so much time. Like it takes a lot of time. So I carve out some hours on the weekend and just sit there and like focus.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Well, one thing that we're actually experimenting right now is hiring a virtual assistant. So we screened several virtual assistants. So there's one now that we're working with. So the goal is to, if we find like just the data entry part, right? So entering the expenses and getting the average for the rent rolls and sending that to the VA at night. So when I wake up, it's there, and I take on the next step, doing the research and doing the projections and all that. So yeah, so that's one thing. And the other function that we want to delegate is to, when you attend the Coach's Corner or the webinars, people put their emails and all that. But after the webinar is like a long list, right? So what we do is we send that script to the VA as well and extract that contact information from there. And then so we can easily copy it in our investor database, and we can start, connecting with those people.
Mm-hmm.
Very smart. I'm not sure if you know Abbas, but I think he's part of Sumrok Group as well. And like his tactic is to use VAs for underwriting. So he will break out the underwriting into modules, film it, and then every time he hired a new VA, he would say, watch this module, and this is how you do it, and then that way he was able to scale, because they would do the first pass, and then they would just send it to him.
That's smart. That's smart. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And it's great because like he's part of Sumrok Group too, and I interviewed him, and I was like, wow, he's only 24. I think he's younger than 24 years old, but he's pretty successful. And I was like, wow, like
very cool.
My guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just have a few other questions. How do you balance your marriage with being business partners?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. So well, we actually see it like we have the same goal. Our goal is to have financial freedom as well as time freedom. Both of us have our W-2 jobs, and we really work. We don't work 9 to 5. We work more than that, like probably 7 to 6 or 8 p.m. depending on the time of day. But so we both really have the same goal, and we're both passionate about it. And one of our goals too is that our parents are not getting younger, and then it's also up to us to take care of them. So we, knowing that we have that goal, and we're passionate about it, so it's more like a partnership between us, and we're working hard to make it work. Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, right? I mean, I think we need more vacation. I think we can all.
Everyone needs more vacation.
Yes,
right? So,
or maybe more weekends, not just a 2-day weekend, 4-day weekend.
Yeah. The way I see it, it's like the question of work-life balance, right? So it's not that, for me, the way I see it, it's not that I work and then enjoy life after work, right? It's more of work-life harmony. Same thing here is work and marriage harmony. So you have to enjoy your marriage while you're doing the work. That sounds very easy to say, right? But it gets tricky sometimes. So the way we do it is like we go on coffee dates on Sunday and we underwrite, or we do the modules. Actually, a part of our anniversary, eighth anniversary was we drove to the first property we invested in and took pictures. So that was because that was such an important milestone in our lives.
Mhm.
So we're enjoying our marriage and enjoying our partnership, and we're growing together as we work as business partners as well.
That's so cute. I wish I had a husband business partner that I can like underwrite with, and I can be like, hey, can you just do this for me? Or can we work on this together?
Yeah, absolutely. So we grow together. So we are enjoying this journey. So yeah.
Great to see you guys are just like couple goals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess my last question would be any advice you want to provide for new syndicators or anyone who like hasn't yet started that, hasn't taken that action yet. What would you tell them to like push them?
Yeah, so we've learned from other people too, and the biggest takeaway that we've got is to really start educating your friends, family, colleagues, about multifamily, because it takes a while before they can, that they are like trusting you that
Mhm.
hey, that they're going to invest their money with you. So start educating them early, and then also start networking. Join meetups. Like here in Houston, there's many meetups all over the Houston area. Like there's one in the north, one in the south, and one in the east, right? So it's
Mhm.
like start doing that, because then you get to meet people, and then you get to network with them, and then you get to learn from their experiences.
And for me, the advice is so I have 3 words and one bonus. So three
Oh,
words.
yes. Love the bonus.
So 3 words is incremental, implementable, and imperfect actions, right? So incremental meaning you have to take things step by step. So if you have this big goal, you have to break it down into smaller steps. Even if it's just 1% every day, that's going to be 356% after 1 year, right? So incremental. The second is implementable. So what are the actions that I can do based on the resources that I have? That means how much money I have, what experience I have, what people can I connect with, right? And how much time I have. So what can I do now? The important thing is I move forward. And the last thing is imperfect. We're going to make errors here, right? So we don't want that thinking of like, making errors stop us from moving forward. Even though it's going to be imperfect, we'll just do it. I mean, we're not going to wait for the perfect deal. We're not going to wait for the perfect, broker or perfect timing. We're just going to move forward and reduce our risk by educating ourselves, right? So that's the important element. You have to reduce your risk. And the last thing is the bonus is having an accountability partner. So we have a weekly meeting with Joel and Lizanne Pugh, who started at the same time.
You may have met them as well at the R2R.
R2R, yeah.
Yeah, and they're this amazing couple.
Yeah.
That has been really helping us with this journey. Because if now it's not you're not only one, you're not just one person learning. It's the 4 of you. So each one of us learns different things. Like or learn different ways, or you'll get something that I didn't get. So each one of us are able to share that with one another and learn and grow together.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important part. Is really have the accountability partner, and then we have weekly meetings. We go through or review the modules, or we
have actions.
And then review the underwriting that we're doing. It's like, okay, this is what I think, because in underwriting, it's mostly dependent on the person doing it. Each one will have different numbers. Nobody will have the same numbers. So I think that's very important for us to learn together and grow together.
Yeah. So we're spiraling upwards together. So that's the best way to put it. So
I love that you're bringing everyone, it's like a team learning together, growing together, and accomplishing the goal together. And as you know, syndication it's a team sport.
Yes, that's what this business is all about. So
oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have interview you guys. You guys are very like calm, and for me, when I learn about syndication, I'm like, I gotta learn underwriting, and then I gotta do this, and then I gotta do that. But you're right, it's about taking incremental steps. You can't just conquer it in one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can learn and ask people who know more than you do. So I think that's we reach out to people. It's like, oh, this is a little bit confusing, and you just reach out to them. And finding those people who's willing to teach you.
Yeah.
And I think most of the people in the Sumrok group are very generous of their knowledge. So you just reach out and then they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Even just like our weekly meetups with other people, we've learned so much.
Yeah.
Just that 30-minute window that talking to them, we've learned every time. We always have this big takeaways from from all the individuals that we talk to.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's been great talking to you guys. I love everything you've said, especially, you know, the bonus points in terms of taking incremental steps. They're imperfect, implementable. So thank you so much for even joining me today. It was lovely catching up, and you know, I wish you guys the best of your journey, and I hope, you know, can keep in touch. I'm going to stop the recording.
Oh yes, okay.
Okay.